Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is going to be a meta update. We find ourselves in the middle of TI. I also find myself in the middle of moving houses, so that's why my background looks the way that it does. But in the middle of TI, we have a break. And during the break, we can analyze what we've seen thus far. The games, they've been pretty exciting. Some crazy barn burners going later on in the stage of the game. But there's an elephant in the room that we must address with this meta update. And that is going to be Helm of the Dominator, an item that we have been seeing a plethora of so far in the road to the International. And I'm going to be talking to you guys today about what makes this item so good, how we got here in terms of balance of the item itself, and how teams are utilizing it. So perhaps if you want to utilize it yourself and pick the right type of heroes that can min-max it, then maybe this video will be for you. So without further ado, let's talk about first the patch notes of the item that have led to where we are now. So here I've got the patch history for Helm of the Dominator, and we're going to notice that the item hasn't been changed since May 21st of this year. So oddly enough, that's one cool aspect of Dota, is that sometimes I remember the TI where Necro was getting picked every game. That hero did not see play until TI itself, and then it was first banned by the end of the tournament. And we find stuff like this happening with items as well. And there's been a trend, increasingly so, that only started just about a few weeks ago. One might argue that it started when Yatoro showcased Helm of the Dominator with Faceless Void. So while we look at these changes, we're going to see that there were two changes this year. This change right here, let's talk about the impact that it had back in May. So you now use a crown instead of a diadem. While the cost of the item itself is a little bit less, and that's nice, the crown means that the build-up for the item is much better for the laning phase. Because in the laning phase, getting a 450 gold 4 all-stat item is much better and smoother build-up than a 6 all-stat 1000 gold item. So in terms of an item that people are buying really early on in the game, giving it a meaningful stat component that costs 450 gold as opposed to 1000 significantly improves the build-up feel of the item and your timings. And the other change that happened in this calendar year, which was in March 27th, is that the dominated creep is now considered a creep hero. This is really important, as I've been watching the TI chat with people saying stuff like, if there's so many dominators, why aren't we seeing Pudge hooks? Why aren't we seeing Marana arrows? Why aren't we seeing Doom? And the answer is quite simple, because if it's a creep hero, that means that all things that traditionally one-shot creeps, like Marana arrow, Pudge hook, and Doom Devour, cannot be used on the creep. You can't enchant it with Enchantress, you can't convert it with Chen, and you can't even infest it with a hero like Lifestealer. So the fact that it's been turned into a creep hero means you also can't Midas it. So they made it so that this creep is no longer able to be one-shotted. That is a really huge buff to this item, considering the fact that that dominated creep does supply a bounty to the opponent when they kill it, 100 gold and 100 XP. And also the fact that there's no like heroes that you have to consider when you're buying the items, so the limiting factors in the game are much less. The other changes that actually happened over a year ago, I didn't even realize they've been in the game for this long, is these two combined changes that when you dominate the creep, you get the gold bounty as well as the experience bounty for the creep. Now, other than these changes, it was actually nerfs prior to that. So these are the 4 changes that have happened to the item. I'd first like to talk about these 2 changes that happened over a year ago, in terms of the number breakdown of why I think this item has become so popular. So right here, I've got Helm of the Dominator pulled up. And we're going to see that when you take control of the creep, you get gold and experience for that creep. Now, I think Helm of the Dominator is so OP now because people have realized that it is simply a superior Midas. Now, what do you mean by a superior Midas? Well, when we look at the item itself, first and foremost, the superior aspect of it is that most heroes in the early to mid game need some form of health regen sustain, on top of the fact that all attributes and armor are highly sought after stats. So 6 of all of those is quite nice. That is better than the 35 attack speed that a Midas provides for almost every hero in the game, probably every hero in the game. The reason why I'm comparing it to a Midas is because when you Midas a creep, you're going to get 160 gold. Most big creeps give like 70 gold. So you're getting like a little over 2 times the gold from a Hand of Midas, and you're getting 2.1 experience. So just for simplicity's sake, we're going to say that Midas gives you twice as much golden XP from the creep that you're Midasing, unless it's like a lane creep, if you're Midasing the big ones. So, and Midas has a 110-second cooldown. So if we're putting these numbers together, that means that Midas is effectively a 55-second cooldown item because you're getting twice as much from the creep. So when we look at it, it's a 55-second cooldown effectively if you were only getting 1x of the gold and experience for the item. You could argue it's 50 since it's 2.1. We'll even lower it to 50-second cooldown. So when we look at Helm of the Dominator, it is a 45-second cooldown, and it also gives the golden XP for the creep. So in terms of sheer efficiency, if you're using it off cooldown, it is as good or better than Midas in terms of accelerating your farm. And a big difference between Helm of the Dominator and Midas is that when you're looking at the 2,500 gold for this item and the 2,200 gold for this item, that the first 975 gold that you have towards the item, one of them, all you get is attack speed for the Glove of Haste. The other one gives you 4 HP regen and 4 armor, as we see here. 4 HP regen and 4 armor. And there are so many heroes in the game that just need some health regen in order to lane properly. And so what we're seeing is that you can just straight rush Helm of the Dominator. Maybe you have to go Brown Boots first, which is for heroes that don't have built-in mobility. But the heroes that we're seeing the most popular with Helm of the Dominator are ones that already have built-in mobility. What we were seeing initially was Marcy as well as Faceless Void. Built-in mobility, so the move speed is not nearly as important. Then we already started seeing during TI heroes like Anti-Mage start building Helm of the Dominator in the carry role. And then it's gotten a little bit out of hand. Just to show you how out of hand it's gotten, I have loaded up Hari Vision versus Wildcard, and I'm at 5 minutes and 44 seconds into the game, and I'm looking at their carry Anti-Mage's inventory, where he has no items rushing a Helm of the Dominator. The creme de la creme Helm of the Dominator heroes are ones that don't need any boots. They don't need any item to do their job. Anti-Mage has a free blink, has mana burn built in, so he harasses the opponent. Anti-Mage has always been a hero that as long as he is sustaining, he has a very strong laning phase. And since he also has built-in magic resistance in the mid-game once he levels Counterspell, then the armor plus HP plus regen just goes even better with his kit. But that's not all. Let's not stop there. We look at their Invoker mid, who has Wand and a Sage's Mask, and then he's queuing up a Helm of the Dominator. Now, Invoker is a hero that fits another archetype of Helm of the Dominator, and the reason that Marcy is by far the best Helm of the Dominator hero in the game, I think, is because she has the built-in mobility, but she also has a buff that she can place on the creep, her bodyguard. So that helps her farm faster, that helps the creep do more damage. Invoker does not have the built-in mobility, but he has alacrity for the creep. So a hero that doesn't usually pressure the mid tower is suddenly, who has the safety of his mid lane, so he doesn't need boots for his own safety, rushes the Helm of the Dominator so that he can take the tower in the early game. Now we look at DM in the off lane. A hero, okay, this hero doesn't have built-in mobility. Okay, this hero doesn't have the mid tower protecting him. He needs boots, and then he's queued up Helm of the Dominator. You may think, wow, BHJ, 3 out of 3 cores buying Helm of the Dominator. That's a lot. This might be getting out of hand. Let's load up 9 classes inventory. A support Monkey King, who historically, back when support Monkey King was really powerful, didn't need to buy boots because of the fact that he moves around the map with his Primal Spring and Tree Dance. And he has loaded up the Helm of the Dominator with no other items. So I would like to point out what I believe to be one crucial trait of all 4 of these heroes. They don't conveniently farm large camps, okay? So if you're thinking about like how long does it take a Monkey King at this stage of the game to clear a hard camp? How many decays does it take for an Undying to kill a hard camp? How long does it take for an Anti-Mage who's just going to click, 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 click to kill a hard camp? How long does that take? Well, all of the heroes that have an innate way to kill the hard camp, they're not ideal Helm of the Dominator builders, because what Helm of the Dominator does for you, that's even better than Midas, is rather than just Midasing the big creep, you dominate the big creep and use it to kill the 2 smaller ones, or the 1 smaller one, depending on the camp that we're talking about. So what every hero's always tried to do in terms of efficiency in the early to mid game is they play the lane, They get like level 5, 6, maybe 7, 8, depending. And they start trying to incorporate clearing these two camps. And as the mid laner, you start incorporating these two camps. So that's what Helm of the Dominator is so good for. And it is amazing for heroes that previously had this weakness that they could not clear the big camp very early. Now you may say, BSJ, like, why not just pick heroes that can clear the big camp without buying the Helm of the Dominator to use the creep? I would like to remind you guys that Dota is a very intricately, finely balanced game where heroes have their strengths and weaknesses. And a lot of the heroes are balanced around their ability to hit item timings, reliably stay in lane. If you think about a hero like Anti-Mage, his historical weakness that you guys have probably all seen on your Anti-Mages is that the guy gets booted out of lane, he loses his tower, the opponent offlaner free farming the tower, killing these two camps nonstop, and your Anti-Mage is back here going no boots Battle Fury. However, with Helm of the Dominator, all of a sudden, Anti-Mage is going to stay in lane, he's going to control this area, and if the opponent leaves, he's going to look to kill the tower. Right? So Anti-Mage, traditionally a hero that struggles in the early to mid game, gets a Helm of the Dominator, uses the creep to lower their regen because the big camp was blocked for now, ends up killing the small camp with it, and then because of this armor and HP regen and stats, he's just going to lane using it to deny creeps. Like, he's just being a stronger laner because he has this, right? They get the kill, and now he's got the Helm of the Dominator as a Midas, and they're even missing out on the big camp. Right? Like, the opponents even blocked it. So, a hero that could Anti-Mage level 6 ever jungle in the history of his career? By career, I mean the history of this hero in Dota? No, level 6 Anti-Mage could never jungle efficiently. But instead, he can just go to the medium camp, give his support some XP underneath the lane. And you can see how this just creates a multifaceted way to play for heroes that traditionally don't have it. So if you notice, before Invoker gets his Helm of the Dominator completed, his tower is under a lot of duress. And he hasn't done anything to the opponent tower because of the fact that this whole like momentum in his lane is going against him. But when we complete that Helm of the Dominator, suddenly we can clear these medium to big camps by taking over the creep, walk it down the mid lane, and we begin pressuring. Even though he messes up that creep, we begin to be the one that pushes the lane into the opponent. And even if he's not killing their tower, he's no longer losing his. Kills that creep. Kills that creep. I'm surprised he personally did not actually take over one of those two creeps. Now he's got a troll creep, the absolute best creep in the game for pushing. The opponent's pushing top lane. And he's going to create meaningful pressure on the mid tower without even having to be there. The support from the opponent has to defend. Going to allow him to defensively clear the wave, not even have to show his hero if he doesn't want to, but he feels comfortable doing so. And notice when we tab over to Monkey King, he's got a creep scouting for him. He doesn't have to see the quap himself. He can scout. Now, what is Monkey King supposed to do if he's not making plays on the map as a support? What else is he supposed to do at this stage of the game? Well, why not just take over creeps and farm jungle camps on a hero that would never be able to do so otherwise, right? That's what this Helm of the Dominator is doing. It is freeing them up. Undying, on the other hand, farming jungle camps while his creep pushes the lane. There is infinite amount of uses to this creep that people are utilizing, and Parivision is showing us just how broken this item is because they bought it on everybody. It's important to note that the offlane Marcy, of course, bought one because Marcy's like the best Helm Dom hero in the game because of bodyguard plus rebound, and even the safe lane Abaddon bought this item. I would like to highlight that the heroes that are best for this are the heroes that have built-in mobility, could use some sort of early health sustain, and they also don't previously have an efficient way to kill big camps. Because suddenly, with the Helm of the Dominator, it gives you all of those things put together, and it kind of like rounds off all of these heroes' weaknesses, and it gives them something to do in the mid game if they don't have plays to make. And it means that with the whole huge map of jungling, nobody has to share farm, because you don't even have to push waves yourself. You can just jungle while your creep does it for you. And the enemy is stuck responding to the creep as opposed to actually looking to hunt you. So long story short, my summary of Helm of the Dominator as an item. My summary for the item is that it is effectively a better Midas. It is a Midas that allows you to not only farm efficiently in terms of the nature of Midas, but it allows you to stay in your lane most of the time, create meaningful pressure even when you're not there, and to also jungle effectively on heroes that otherwise couldn't. The reason that it's a better Midas on top of everything that I've said is because of the fact that you are now able to jungle when you otherwise couldn't, which means supports can take lanes, which means cores have more options, which means there's really no such thing as shutting you down. And we've gotten to the point where I believe what makes Helm of the Dominator absolutely busted is the fact that it is being used as a Midas. It took people this long, over a year and a half, plus the recent changes of the creep hero mechanic, to realize that this item does this. In theory, an item that gives you stats, gives you sustain, and accelerates your farm is absolutely nutty, broken, wamboozling, whatever you would like to call it. So when I've been looking at TI this year, there's been some crazy ass games, super exciting. But I also think it's important that we all understand why this Helm of the Dominator is being so prevalent in so many of the games, and why I believe it's only going to get worse in the sense that more and more people are going to be buying this item. And I think that all of the strats that people are cooking up is either going to be, is there a hero that previously wasn't viable because of Helm of the Dominator? And are there heroes that are just very good at killing Helm of the Dominator creeps potentially, or don't care about Helm of the Dominator creeps, and effectively get a Midas of their own because they get the 100 of gold and XP when they kill the Helm of the Dominator creep? I believe this item is completely dictating the meta, maybe even more so than Wraith Pact back in the TI where Tundra won it. The thing about Wraith Pact was it decided high ground pushes, mid-game timings, and team fights, while Helm of the Dominator, I feel like, decides the 8 to the 20 minute mark. If one team executes this better than the other, they're going to get an insurmountable lead and effectively get off the ground running, and then all that really matters is playing for the late game timings and matchups. So you can pick heroes that are much more able to basically skip their weakness point in the game from 8 minutes to 20 because of this item, and they're able to scale much better and get items that they otherwise would not have been able to get. So, long story short, we find ourselves in a Helm of the Dominator meta. I am almost certain we're going to be seeing it gutted after TI. I was optimistic they may even nerf it between the group stages of TI. No other changes, just make it so that, hey, longer cooldown mana cost. The part of it that I would like to see nerfed, for anyone wondering out there, because I've been asked this a lot in my Twitch chat, is the portion of the item that makes it a Midas. I don't want people to have limited options with using the item. I don't like any nerfs where some people propose like the creep has to be a certain distance from you, or that the creep gets weaker and it doesn't get mana regen anymore. Anything that limits the use of the item, I'm not a huge fan of, because I think that type of uniqueness in Dota is exciting. What I don't like about the item is that it is fulfilling a purpose that it was not meant to fulfill, which is to be a farm accelerator Midas type item. So what I would like to see is that the item gets a longer cooldown, and it also gets a mana cost maybe 25 to 50. So I'm thinking a 75 to 90 second cooldown, so it's not that efficient. And then it also has a mana cost so that heroes would either have to buy like raindrops or soul ring or something in order to enable the consistent use of it. A little bonus tidbit that might be nice is I've always found it really annoying that when you're trying to deal with a Helm of the Dominator creep and kill it, that the opponent will let you kill the creep down to like 10% HP, and then they'll just dominate a new creep. So give it the same treatment that Lone Druid has, which is that he cannot resummon his bear if his bear has recently taken hero-based damage in the last 3 seconds. I would love to see something like that on Helm of the Dominator, that you cannot re-dominate your creep and effectively kill off the previous one if the previous one has recently taken damage. So at least people will get the 100 gold, 100 experience bounty for killing your Helm of the Dominator creep. Now, with that being said, those are my proposed nerfs. Curious what your guys' thoughts are about the numbers, about the item. Do you guys like this meta? Would love to hear what you guys have to say. And I also would like to say that I will be doing a TI watch party on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/bananaslamjamma, on the finals day of TI. We'll be watching the finals there. So if you'd like to ask me questions, listen to my thoughts about the games, and overall join me for TI finals, I'd love to see you guys there. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for this meta update, and I'll see you guys in the next video.